It is the 15th day of February 2026. Welcome to Citizen Weekend. My name is Wycliffe Opande. Here are the top stories. Government warns the public against job offers by unlicensed agents in Russia. Budget Committee concludes public hearings on sale of government stake in Safaricom. And ODM factions to hold separate rallies in Kitengela and Mombasa after Sifuna ouster. Welcome to the broadcast. Now, the government, through the Ministry of Foreign and Diaspora Affairs, has cautioned Kenyans against traveling to Russia for employment arranged through irregular or informal channels. In a statement, the ministry said it has received numerous inquiries amid the growing number of Kenyans traveling to the Russian Federation after securing job offers through unverified agents and online recruiters. Now, according to the ministry, if affected individuals and their relatives have contacted the Kenyan embassy, reporting that they were promised lucrative employment, high salaries and residency permits, only to find that the opportunities either do not exist or differed significantly from what had been communicated. While reaffirming its commitment to intervene and assist those affected, the ministry acknowledged challenges in extradition and repatriation, noting that such efforts may be limited or delayed by restricted locations and legal processes under the host country's law and administrative procedures. To mitigate these risks, the ministry urged Kenyans to verify all overseas job offers before departure. It added that efforts are ongoing to dismantle fraudulent recruitment networks targeting unsuspecting job seekers. On Tuesday, the government said it had rescued and repatriated 27 Kenyans who were stranded in the Russian Federation after they were illegally enlisted to fight in the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war. Now to matters politics, and under fire, ODM Secretary General Edwin Sifuna is leading a group of ODM leaders to a rally in Kitengela. The leaders who are opposed to support President Ruto's re-election attended a church service at the ACK St. Peter's Orkeju in Kisaju, vowing to stand together ahead of the next elections. Let's now cross over and listen to the embattled ODM Secretary General Edwin Sifuna speaking.
Bahasha hii siwezi kukupatia, hii nimepewa hii. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Asante sana na Mungu awabariki. Sasa kuna nyingine kwa simu pale, Mheshimiwa Mawadhi anaomba mumpatie paybill yenu ili aweze kuweka pale, paybill iko pale. Asante sana Mheshimiwa Mawadhi. Sasa mimi ndio nyinyi. Na nyinyi ni kina nani? Basi, kwa maombi yenu nasimama hapa leo tarehe 15 mwezi wa pili mwaka 2026 nikiwa bado katibu mkuu wa chama cha ODM, seneta wa Nairobi na naibu kiranja wa walio wachache kwenye bunge la Senate. Sisi vile tumehubiriwa hapa leo tunapitia mengi, lakini nataka nikuhakikishie Reverend kwamba yale mahubiri ambayo umetupa hapa imetuongezea nguvu ya kwamba hata iwapo tutaandamwa, hata iwapo tutachorewa, hata iwapo tutapangiwa, Bwana ndiye mchungaji wetu na hatutaogopa kitu chochote. Tutaendelea kuongea ukweli ili tuweze kulinda wananchi wetu kutokana na dhulma ya Kasongo, kutokana na ufisadi ambao umekithiri Kenya hii, kutokana na mauaji, kutokana na abductions za vile vijana wetu kama hawa kina Bob Njagi. Wamepitia mengi sana hawa vijana, na ni jukumu letu. Baba Raila Amolo Odinga alikuwa anatuambia, ukiwa kiongozi huwezi kujiongoza wewe mwenyewe, lazima uongoze watu. Unapochukua hata hatua moja, geuka nyuma uone kama bado wananchi wako na wewe, na sisi tutashikilia hapo. Nataka niwashukuru wa Kenya wote kwa sababu mmejigeuza, nyinyi ndio mimi. Munanipa comfort ya kwamba hata wakimaliza Sifuna wengi zaidi ya milioni 15 wengine wataendelea na hii shughuli ya kulinda wananchi. Sasa mimi nimefurahi kuja hapa Kisaju. Nataka niwape story fupi sana kuonyesha jinsi ambavyo uchumi ya nchi imekuwa mbaya. Mimi nikianza kazi ya uwakili, hizi maplot za Kisaju hapa watu walikuwa wanaweza kuja kununua, ndio ilikuwa inatupea kazi ya uwakili. Saa hii ukiwa wakili mdogo unajaribu kufungua ofisi, zile pesa ambazo machama ya kina mama walikuanga nayo kukuja kununua maploti hapa, siku hizi hakuna mtu ana uwezo wa kufanya yale mambo ambayo tulikuwa tunafanya. So unakuta mawakili ambao ni wachanga sana, wanakuta hawawezi kujisaidia, uchumi umesimama, watoto wetu hawako shule, mambo inaenda vibaya kila mahali, hata katika sekta ya afya. Lakini wanasema tunyamaze, ama tukiongea watutoe katika nyadhifa zetu. Mimi nataka niwahakikishie wananchi, kuna sababu ambayo tumesema tulinde wananchi. Niwaambie hiyo sababu. Hivi vyeo yote inapeanwa na wananchi. Mimi nitawalinda leo, mtanilinda kesho. Si ndio? Hiyo ndio inatakikana. Nataka nikamilishe kwa kuwatambua maseneta ambao wako hapa. Nataka nijulishe seneta wa kutoka Kisii ambaye ni Mheshimiwa Richard Onyonka, yuko na sisi hapa. Tafadhali Mheshimiwa Onyonka, kwa sababu wenzetu wa bunge la kitaifa walisalimia, wewe salimia pia kwa dakika moja tu tafadhali, lakini mengi tutazungumza pale kwenye kiwanja. Asante sana.
Moving on now, President William Ruto has highlighted the uneven distribution of climate finance, which has continued to place the African continent at a disadvantage. President Ruto further wants African states to rework their green industrialization strategy, terming it the only pathway to strengthen African economies and create sustainable jobs for the youth. Now, speaking during the 39th African Union Summit in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, President Ruto also presented a report outlining the reforms needed to strengthen the African Union's response to peace and security. Safina Ching Oma gives us that report.
It was while presenting a report on heads of state and government committee on climate action during the 39th session of the African Union Summit in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, that President William Ruto commended Africa's resilience and engagement in the global climate change agenda. President Ruto, however, noted that Africa continues to face disproportionate climate impact despite contributing the least to global emissions.
The year 2025 marked the 10th anniversary of the Paris Agreement. While the agreement established an important framework and direction, delivery has not yet produced equitable outcomes. Global emissions remain high, and climate finance continues to be unevenly distributed.
President Ruto also challenged Africa to rethink its green industrialization strategy if it has to stay competitive in a rapidly shifting global economy.
Available data indicates that global clean energy investment exceeded US $2.3 trillion in 2025, driven largely by deployments across Asia, Europe, and North America. Africa, despite accounting for nearly 20% of the world's population, received less than 3% of this investment.
President Ruto further presented a report on African Union's institutional reforms, proposing practical measures to strengthen peace, security, and governance.
It further proposes scaling the Peace Fund from US $400 million to US $1 billion, strengthening preventive democracy and mediation, closing the early warning response gap, reinforcing norms against unconstitutional change of government, and revitalizing Pan-African solidarity.
And on trade, the heads of state dissected the progress and challenges of the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement, which they said has helped the continent to navigate geo-economic shifts and trade protectionism. Safina Chiengoma, Citizen TV.
The Departmental Committee on Finance and National Planning has concluded the public hearings on the sale of the Safaricom shares to a South African-based company, Vodacom. In their final sitting in Kwale, the committee, chaired by Kitui Rural MP David Mboni, promised to consider the views of the people on the government's plan to sell 15% of its shares from the telecommunications company. Mboni said a report will be presented before the National Assembly for deliberations and amendments. Residents of Kwale who convened at Kwale Cultural Center in Matuga constituency called for prudent use of the funds in the implementation of critical development projects.
Watu wanatafuta pesa kama wananchi, kila siku tunalia maendeleo, na maendeleo kufanyika ni lazima serikali ukuwe na pesa ya kutosha. Kwa hivyo kule kuuza hisa 15 kuziuza hisa za serikali ikiwa inaleta pesa, ili pesa ile isaidie kuendesha maendeleo, masuala ya maji, masuala ya barabara na mengineyo, tunaona kwamba ni jambo zuri.
Na nina uhakika kuwa zile shares zikipitisha, pesa ikifika kwa serikali, hizo projects zitafuatiliwa na uhakika na mambo yatakuwa mazuri. Kwa hiyo mimi nasisitiza na naomba kwa Wakenya wenzangu tukubaliane na hiyo shares tuuze, serikali ipate pesa, hizo project zote zenye zimeandikwa ziweze kufanikisha kwa haraka, especially maji.
Hii pesa tunataka iingie, na hii ndio mapendekezo ya wananchi. Hii pesa iingie kwa National Infrastructure Fund, iingie hapo, serikali ilete projects. Bunge iwe inaweza pitisha hiyo project.
Ndiye sisi wawakilishi wenu wa tani. But you see,
now, a family of 3 seeking help after their house was burned down in a suspected arson attack at Maili Tatu along the Meru-Isiolo border. An incident resident says linked to a land dispute affecting over 200 households. The homeowner Simon Kirimi says that the attackers struck at dawn, leaving his family homeless but unarmed. Now, following the attack, angry locals blocked the busy Meru-Isiolo road for nearly 3 hours before police from Isiolo police station restored calm. Residents have raised concern over enforcement of a stay order issued by the Meru Law Courts, with the matter set for hearing on the 23rd of February.
Kutoka tu kama 20 meters, kwa nimetoa mtoto na bibi yangu within 20, kama kwenda kama 20 meters, mimi nikaona nyumba tu imechomeka yote. Na watu ni kama walikuwa wametumwa na kuna marisasi ikapigwa. Na marisasi ni kama ni askari walikuwa wamewasimamia wakachoma nyumba. Kila kitu nimechomewa, kila kitu, sina kitu kingine.
Mimi nikasikia nduru. Mimi saa ile nimetoka nimegonga na mawe sana asubuhi. Hata sasa ndio nimeanza kusikia mawe mahali iliniangukia. Kwa maana lengo yangu ilikuwa nikimbie niokoe hawa kijana na mtoto na bibi yake.
Na maajabu ile tunaongea na siogopi, nikisema na hata mahali yote ndaenda siogopi hapo, nasema kabisa na sikatai hapo. Imagine watu hao wote vile tumeita tumeweza kuona askari wamegua watatu kwa njia. Askari wakafale. Ndio wamepiga risasi kama 3 hapa, kama watu wanaogopa. Mimi siogopi, maana imepigwa risasi kama hii hapa. Na vile imeendelea tumesukuma hao watu wote na ndio tumeumia. Sasa tunauliza kama tuna haki.
Now, residents of Nkutuk Engiron village in Samburu County continue to grapple with challenges of mobile connectivity. Residents appeal for network connection, saying the area lies within insecurity corridor that is between Isiolo and Samburu County. Citizen TV's Boniface Barasa tells the story of a village communication puzzle.
Beautiful scenery of hills surrounding Gotok Engiron village in Samburu East Sub-County, a village named after Dongi's Mouth, hosts the nomadic Samburu pastoral community. Here we meet Siona Isula, who visited the area for work-related activity. Naisula narrates to us how communication is a puzzle here due to lack of mobile network.
Hello, Mose. Mumefika wapi? Needed to contact my doctors and get to know where they are, where they are not, and what's happening and what the delays. And I had to walk 5 kilometers just to put my phone on top of a ledge, literally, to be able to reach them. And still, even for here, the network is in and out.
To residents, lack of mobile network has been a major challenge. With locals have to troop to this spot to make calls.
Hatuna network na tunapakana na kaunti ya Isiolo. Kama sasa ikiwa sasa hata mambo ya insecurity hatuwezi hata kuitana, na inakuwa ni kama daraja ya kupitia na wakora.
Mimi nisha nadumia community, kwa hivyo ile shida yangu kubwa network, sina network kabisa.
Locals claim their numerous attempts to inform the relevant authority through their leaders has turned to be an exercise in futility.
Mgonjwa akigonjeka hapa, hakuna network hapa, mpaka ukuje hapa, ukuje upige simu, upigie ambulance huko Wamba ama huko Achas ndio ukuje hapa. Hata sometimes unakuta watu wengine wanakufa tu kwa sababu hakuna network.
Hata tulilea kwa wakubwa yetu, kwa viongozi, ni kama hatusikii. Tunaona tukichagua viongozi wanaweka kwao tu mahali mtu anaishi.
Naomba authority, communication authority in 21st century hatuna network hapa.
To many, the availability of network might be a privilege that has been taken for granted, but to this pastoral community here, they still grapple with that challenge in the 21st century, and they are calling on Communication Authority of Kenya to intervene and salvage the situation. Bonfas Barasa, Citizen TV, Ngutuk Engeron, Samburu County.
Thank you, Barasa, for that story. Now, let's revisit our earlier story where a growing number of African teenagers are entering the labor market before completing their education, taking up low-paying and informal jobs that risk locking them out of better-paying opportunities later in life. That is according to a new report. The inaugural Africa Youth Employment Outlook 2026 revealed a worrying shift from work to study, where young people aged between 15 and 17 are joining the workforce prematurely, largely in informal agricultural roles. The Development Policy Research Unit says that early exposure to work, often driven by economic necessity, comes at the expense of completing formal education. The findings come at a time when Africa's youth population continues to expand, even as other regions face demographic decline. Africa's youth population is projected to grow by a record 132 million by the year 2030.
So as a solution, these sector skills committees, we will actually have about 12 of them, so that we sit with them and we get to know from them where there are gaps. And once we get to know where these gaps are, we inform curriculum. So we work with educational institutions so that we can quickly change curriculum and come up with graduates who actually meet their expectations.
Strong, skilled young people are still the biggest likelihood for your economy to move forward. And what is the problem? The problem is that the world is losing 27 million people this decade, young people, if you would exclude Africa. The good news is Africa will add more than 100 million young people, 132 million. So this is the decade where actually Africa adds most, and the decade where the rest of the world loses the first time. The next decade is very similar. So this is a window of 20 years where Africa can help transform the world's labor markets.
Now let's cross borders to the US, where former US President Barack Obama has responded to a video that was shared on President Donald Trump's social media pages showing him and former First Lady Michelle Obama as apes. Speaking to a podcast host, Obama said the post reflects a broader decline in civility, lamenting that the shame and decorum that once guided public officials are now largely absent. The White House first called the outrage fake, but later said a staff member was responsible and removed the video, sparking renewed discussion about standards in U.S. politics.
The majority of the American people find this behavior deeply troubling. It is true that it gets attention. It's true that it's a distraction. But as I'm traveling around the country, as you're traveling around the country, you meet people. They still believe in decency, courtesy, kindness, and there's this sort of clown show that's happening in social media and on television. And what is true is that there doesn't seem to be any shame about this among people who used to feel like you had to have some sort of decorum and a sense of propriety and respect for the office, right? So that's been lost.
Now back home, he commanded thousands of troops in war torn African nations. He negotiated with rebels and restored peace where guns once ruled. Now we take a look to the quiet village of Mukumu in Eldoret town, home to retired Lieutenant General Ismail Daniel Opande. 21 years after returning to civilian life, the former peace commander lives a quiet life away from the battlefield. But his legacy continues to shape Kenya's military history and Africa's peacekeeping story. Our reporter Walter Nyambaga now brings us his journey from the classroom in Gendia to leading 17,000 troops under the United Nations flag. Take a look.
In this serene environment of Mukumu village on the outskirts of Eldoret town lives a man whose name was once echoed across the battlefields in Africa. Retired Lieutenant General Ismail Daniel Opande. For 21 years now, he has lived away from the uniform after decades of distinguished service in the Kenyan military. Long before this quiet retirement, General Opande was at the center of some Africa's most complex peace missions. He led operations in Liberia, Sierra Leone, Mozambique, and Nigeria, countries torn apart by civil war.
Where did you fight to be given one-star general? You're not even worth, being a corporal. I had met him before, the small general. Incidentally, I met him again recently. When I say recently, last year. Hey. I met him in Liberia, in his own country. I went back to Liberia, and I met him. He was in charge of a certain area as a rebel.
In Sierra Leone, rebels had unleashed terror. The international community needed a steady and experienced commander. General Opande was entrusted with leading more than 17,000 multinational troops under the United Nations mission. Despite language barriers and cultural differences, he brought cohesion and discipline to the force, combining firmness with diplomacy, what some called carrot-and tactics, to fiercely confront the rebels.
They're disorganizing the country. They are killing, their own people, but they don't want to bring peace because they enjoy disorganization so that they are in charge, so that the government is not able to govern. And I use carrot and sticks. Talk to them and say, look, if peace comes, when we resolve this issue and peace comes to this country, you will also be part and parcel of peace, right? But first of all, you must stop doing what you are doing, right? If I want to disarm your troops, I will disarm them.
His calm demeanor and diplomatic engagement led to successful disarmament and withdrawal of weapons. Slowly, peace was restored.
See, these rebels, they are not people that you see every day and you know who they are, unless you're sharp enough to see that. I think I saw this face somewhere else. Now this fellow is here. So we found that was a very difficult, not a good way of getting the guns out of the hands of this rebel. However, we continued to search and get to know how we will, make sure that we eventually achieve our aim, which was get the weapons.
But where did this journey begin? General Opande traces his roots to Omabay County in the Nyanza region. Military school in the UK prepared him for a life of service back home. It started in Nakuru.
I was born in Kendu Bay, Gendia Mission. That's where I was raised. That's where I first went to school. And then eventually I went to Kakamega, where I did my high school. And then I joined the military. And then that's where I went to the UK and became a military man and came back. And then I grew up in the Kenya Armed Forces up to the time that I retired.
At one point, General Opande was widely viewed as the next in line to to become Kenya's Chief of Defense Forces, but in what many described as shifting luck, President Daniel Arap Moi assigned him to lead the Sierra Leone peace mission. Instead, the CDA position went to another senior officer, a move that sparked murmurs within the military circle. Opande sees it differently.
During that time, I was the number 2 to General Tonje as the Vice Chief of General Staff here in Kenya. Our troops went there. Before the peacekeeping picked up, mayhem erupted in Sierra Leone. I wasn't there. I was here back at home. So my boss sent me with a delegation, a very senior delegation of government officials, for us to go and find out what is happening in Sierra Leone. So we went to Sierra Leone. When we arrived in Sierra Leone, we found that not only Kenyans had been attacked, but Zambians had been attacked. They had been taken hostages. Nigerians had been attacked. Ghanaians had been attacked. Guineans had been attacked by the rebels.
In the mission, challenges encountered were to harden him. He recalls.
There are times when I had to tell the United Nations we need more manpower to do the job. Sometimes we got them, sometimes we didn't. A general is a general. No faint-hearted. No. If you have a faint heart, you will find it difficult to achieve. But the generals are always, when you reach, there, everything that needs to be done has to be done.
Today, far from the sound of gunfire and military command, General Opande lives a quiet life in Mukumo, in a compound that is illustrative of military honors.
Sierra Leone is one of the largest peacekeeping missions that the United Nations did.
A soldier turned diplomat, a commander who chose negotiation over destruction, his legacy remains echoed in Kenya's military history and in the peace restored across parts of Africa. Walter Nyambaga, Citizen TV, Uasin Gishu County.
Well, a beautiful story there by Nyambaga on the life and times of retired Lieutenant General Opande and what he's up to currently. On that note, we take a short commercial break at 30 minutes, 1:30 p.m. And of course, on the other side of the break, we'll be talking matters sports. So don't go far. Keep it Citizen TV.
This March, business goes bigger. From March 5th to 7th, Nakuru City transforms as it hosts the BizLink Trade Expo 2026 in partnership with KNCCI at the Rift Valley Sports Club under the theme Connecting Markets, Driving Enterprise Growth. This is your multi-sector platform to gain visibility, unlock new markets, and discover innovation. Join us for 3 days of networking, deals, growth, all under one roof. Entry is free. Connecting Markets, Driving Enterprise Growth.
Glovo ni ile app ina-connect na your city na the crunchiest fried chicken extra sauce. Na bado iko moto vile mbogi inadai. Ama na shopping ya wiki bila get stuck in line, so you enjoy more playtime. Ata na her favorite flowers, so that date night itajipa na mapenzi. With Glovo, you can track your order and also contact customer support. Download the app, order Glovo and get anything you want in minutes.
We're kicking your year off in all her glory. With more, because we've got you.
You get it.
You know that. We got kicks. We got scores. We got action. We got roars.
It's my specialty.
We got drama. We got fun. We got more for everyone. With an upgrade on us, just for you. More channels, more shows, more reasons to stay.
We got you.
DSTV, we got you all the way.
or bank MSME financing, you'll get a boost that will have all eyes on you. Cooperative Bank. We are you. Uko ready kuwa entertain? GoTV inakupa more shows. Juu wewe ni wetu.
That's right.
More movies.
Yes.
Jackpot. More cartoons za watoi.
Of course.
Na more futa.
No doubt about it.
Habari ndio hiyo. Tunakupatia more.
Girl, that is so true.
Exactly. Lipia package yako tuko upgrade to the next package on us.
Yes.
That's good to know.
What happens when pain meets passion and revenge fuels the fire?
That man took everything from us.
He must not ever find out that we are Octavio Sanchez's children.
If those poor mechanics know about the evidence, we would have to take care of them.
Daring Heart is back. Get lost in the gripping drama, the unrelenting fight for truth, and the twists that will leave you wanting more. Don't miss Daring Heart every Sunday at 2:30 p.m.
Let's look at matters sports now, and the Kenya Wheelchair Basketball Federation is raising concern over inadequate training facilities, saying the lack of proper infrastructure is hampering preparations for upcoming international assignments. Kenya is currently preparing the wheelchair basketball teams for both genders of the 3x3 and 5x5 teams for the Kinshasa and Angola showdowns, as well as the under 25-year-old women's team that will participate in the 2026 Glasgow Commonwealth Games qualifiers.